All right. Welcome to the free astrotheology class. This is our textbook, the Gospels and the Zodiac, the secret truth about JC, the Christ figure, written by the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. All right. So we're on page 207. We're going to begin with the spiritual lessons of Pisces. All right, so let's begin. The spiritual lessons of Pisces. The problem is that, so let's read this quote, okay? The spiritual lessons of Pisces is a subheading on page 207. And for some reason, I'm thrown off today. I need to sleep, y'all. That's what it is. Do you know that, are you aware that dehydration and lack of sleep are responsible for a huge, probably approaching the majority of people's illnesses, physical and mental, and early death. Did y'all know that? Yes. Things as simple as dehydration and lack of sleep, or sleep deprivation. Let me put it like that. Sleep deprivation. You know you're dehydrated. Of course, everybody knows when your mouth is dry, right? Your lips feel dry. Your tongue is dry. Your eyes look dry, or they look sunken in. Okay. But just being properly hydrated can extend your life, can also make you feel emotionally better and keep you healthy. Just being properly hydrated. All right. Let's continue. The spiritual lessons of Pisces. The problem is that we tend to seek an easy and painless answer, but this kind of solution does not apply to the spiritual path, whatever that is, once we commit ourselves to the spiritual path. It is very painful, and we are in for it. We have committed ourselves to the pain of exposing ourselves, of taking off our clothes, our skin, our nerves, heart, brain, until we are exposed to the universe. Nothing will be left. It will be terrible, excruciating, but that is the way it is. And this is a quote by Kokyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Maybe I pronounced that wrong. But I think I don't have to say, if you've been following these presentations, the contract or the covenant, the Mosaic contract, the Mosaic covenant, doesn't say any of the things that we just looked at or that we just read in the quote. The promise or the deal is, the agreement is, we follow natural law, we follow nature, right? And the law of cause and effect will kick into place, which is you get a superabundance of everything, right? So this is the contract with the Most High. However, what Christianity teaches, what the New Testament teaches, is contrary to that. See, the Mosaic contract says that Follow natural law, and you'll have everything in superabundance. Okay, this is the agreement with the Most High. If you don't follow natural law, and the Most High's commandments are natural law, if you don't do it, you're finished. Sickness, illness, loss of nationality and status, poverty, you'll be escheated, you'll be hit with bills of attainders, and you'll die early. Okay, that's what it is. Go check it, Deuteronomy chapter 28. But with Christianity, through the New Testament, through Paul's, specifically through Paul's writings, Paul is teaching that you must suffer defeat, loss, humiliation, and other pains, physical and emotional, in order for you to become an enlightened man or woman. You must suffer. Okay? So that's completely different. And once you've suffered, and I know I've suffered more than probably 99% of the people on the planet, I've suffered. Loss, betrayal, etc. But Paul's writing says that the only way to become enlightened is through suffering. Period. Now remember, you suffer when you act out of harmony with natural law. So do y'all see it? That's the source of suffering, when you are acting out of harmony with natural law. But when you're acting in harmony or following natural law, following the Most High's commandments, you will not suffer. Why? Because of the laws of cause and effect, right? The laws of cause and effect. So you will not suffer. You'll have a superabundance. Okay, so there's a conflict or a contradiction right there. Hopefully you all see it. Okay. So now, why might you need to suffer? Well, let's say you are a domesticated autochthonous Moor. Okay, you've been born in bondage. All you know is religion. All you know is religion. And you're living a religious life. So do y'all see what I'm saying? That's all you know. Okay? So your whole world, your whole paradigm, your whole existence since birth is living out of harmony with natural law. So that's going to lead to what? A lifetime of suffering. Even, many people, they hit the lottery. They think they're going to be happy, but they quickly realize that the money doesn't make you happy. Some people become even more unhappy when they have a lot of money. Why? Because with that extra money, you can be more of who you are already. And that's that terrible person who's always depressed and always unhappy, always drinking, always smoking. You're just going to do more of that. I had a friend coming up. He hit the lottery, or so the story goes. He hit the lottery. He won 10 million. He went out and spent several thousand on crack. They found him the next day dead of an overdose. Okay? So you need to suffer, right? According to Paul's writing. And remember, I told in these presentations before that Paul's writings, he's presenting the mind sciences in his writings, y'all. What are the mind sciences? Well, you read about it when you read or listen to success and achievement literature, or you read it or you watch success and achievement videos. That's the mind sciences. Okay. And they teach that that you suffer. Okay, you suffer. Okay, that's their paradigm. You must have nothing. You must be broke emotionally, physically, and then it's through your pain that you begin to pick yourself up. So that's when you pick yourself from being lower self to higher self. Higher self is what? You become enlightened. All right, you begin to live properly in harmony with nature. You begin to eat foods that are good and healthy for your body. Everybody see that? All right. So that's the message of Christianity, how it conflicts with nature. That's what Paul's message is, okay? You gotta remember that in the Gospels, JC never said he was quote unquote God's son. He never said that. He called himself a son of man, right? He never told anybody to worship him. Never told anybody to worship him. Nobody ever thought that JC was inside of them, right? Nobody ever thought that. He was somebody separate in the allegory, separate from yourself. Okay, he was allegedly the Jewish, quote unquote, or suspected, expected Jewish Messiah. All right. So somebody external who they expected to do all of those things that a Jewish Messiah would do according to the allegory, right? But he did none of those things. But yet he's still external. But Paul comes in and completely changes that. He brings in Gnostic ideas, Christ within me, right? The mind sciences, okay? The mind sciences. But the church, the Catholic Church, presents JC what? As an external deity. See, that's even conflicting with what Paul was teaching, right? But anyway, let's continue. I gotta stop going off on these tangents. All right. So the final section of Mark is so lengthy and so densely packed with symbolic and mythological elements that the whole book would be necessary to deal with it adequately. A whole book would be necessary to deal with the final section of Mark. Y'all hear that? It's densely packed with symbolic and mythological elements. Well, okay, well, I want to see what they are. Fortunately, it is no part of my present purpose to provide such a comprehensive commentary. Okay, so this author is not going to deal with it. Instead, I will deal only with the specifically astrological themes of that section of the text, pointing out where appropriate their relevance to our main contention. And here's the main contention, y'all, that Mark's gospel, whatever else it might be, is a guide to the spiritual life. And I'm still not clear what they mean by spiritual life. Let me check the signal. I forgot to check the signal. I still don't know what people mean when they start talking about spiritual life. I still don't know what people mean when they start talking about spiritual life. All right, give me 1 second, y'all. All right. So where are we? So the signal's good. There is also a possibility that, in addition to symbolic and mythological elements, the story contains, that's the final section of Mark, The final section of Mark contains some historical material. It is certainly possible that a holy man called JC was executed by the Romans with the convenience of Jewish authority. So we know from the devil's pulpit, right, y'all, that JC was never executed. Most likely it was Simon the Cyrenian. Is it Simon the Cyrenian? Yeah. Most likely him. How do we know? Because we study the grammar. That's how we study the grammar. You know the grammar rules, it's plain as day that JC escaped. Okay? So that's another hidden truth. JC never died on a torture stake or a cross. Ever. Period. He escaped. What's another reason we know? The man on the cross didn't want to be there. Right? Many people say he had no courage, which is different from the personality of JC, the Christ figure. He was full of courage, always ready to lay down his life on behalf of his Father. But the person on the stake or the cross, well, he didn't want that to happen to him. Clearly didn't want it to happen to him, right? So there's a difference in the personality. So some people might say, well, yeah, like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, or was it get punched in the face? Okay. So some people say, well, he lost his courage, right? Okay, well, let's say if that's the case, well, you still got to deal with the grammar. The grammar says that it wasn't him. The other guy, most likely it was Simon, the Cyrenian, who was hung. Okay? But anyway, let's continue. There is also a possibility that, in addition to, y'all find that, you'll find what I'm talking about in the devil's pulpit. So just go check the devil's pulpit, right? He writes it. That book was written so long ago that it's a hard read. But you can read it. You can do it. Go back and read it. It's hard to understand what he's writing, but if you understand grammar, you will figure it out, okay? The link to the devil's pulpit, it's free. The link to that PDF is in the description area of this video. There is also a possibility that, in addition to symbolic and mythological elements, the story contains some historical material. It is certainly possible that a holy man called JC was executed by the Romans with the convenience of the Jewish authority. So we're talking about Jewish people, not bloodline, House of Yasharala. This is myth, y'all. Okay, this is a myth. They created a history. Okay. It is also possible that this man was the source of many sayings which are attributed to him in the Gospels recorded, and that he founded a movement dedicated to the promulgation of divine wisdom. I do not think that Mark's Gospel has such things as its principal concern, even though he may indirectly reflect them. The presence in the text of genuine place names, real historical characters, and verifiable customs and traditions does not guarantee history. That's right. You just make stuff up, right? Mark's narrative is so contrived. Let me repeat that. Mark's narrative is so contrived, so replete with Old Testament and zodiacal echoes that it cannot be mere chronicle. Y'all hear that? So Mark was lifting stuff out of the Old Testament and out of astrology. Y'all feel me? Hear what the author says? Let me read it again. Mark's narrative is so contrived, so replete with Old Testament and zodiacal echoes, that it cannot be mere chronicle. All right? That's this scholar, who's probably a Freemason. Maybe he's a master Mason. That's how he knows all of this stuff and where to look for it. Page 208. That's where I'm reading this from. Okay, so what am I trying to say to you? The Egyptians are the astrological instructors. The Egyptians are the astrological instructors of the ancient House of Yasharala. So wouldn't it make sense that if they're going to be echoes of the Old Testament, it would be replete with astrological references? Do y'all see it? That's the point I want y'all to see. It's all logical. Let's continue. We should be alerted to the text's heavily symbolic character by the stated dating of events. Okay, so now this sounds like the dates of events didn't match up. Now, this should bring back to your mind a couple video presentations ago, we talked about when JC cursed the fig tree. Okay, I believe Mark has it at the, I don't remember. Mark either has it at the beginning or the end of his Gospels, but Matthew, Luke, and John has it at the beginning. So let me clarify this. If Mark has it at the beginning of JC's Gospels, Matthew, Luke, and John have that event at the end of JC's ministry. Okay? Clear? So they're out of whack. Let me say it again. If Matthew says that the event of JC cursing the fig tree happened at the beginning of JC's ministry, Matthew, Luke, and John place that event at the end of JC's ministry. Okay, now if Mark has it at the end of JC's ministry, then Matthew, Luke, and John place that event at the beginning of JC's ministry. Okay, so that's the point. But y'all go back and watch those and you can see for yourself. I just don't remember. I need to eat. My memory is, I feel a little bit lightheaded. I need to eat. I should have eaten before I did these live streams. But anyway, let me continue, y'all. Mark leaves us in no doubt that the series of incidents with which his gospel concludes took place at the time of the Jewish Passover. That would be the vernal or spring equinox, y'all. Took place at the time of the Jewish Passover celebrations. It is not unlikely that a wandering preacher would be present in Jerusalem at Passover time. Well, that makes sense, right? That makes total sense. Nor is it hard for us to envisage Mark antagonizing the authorities so greatly that they would wish him killed. Let me repeat that. They're talking about JC, y'all. You know, after this paragraph, I'm going to stop the video because I need to eat. Let me get through this. I feel lightheaded. All right. It is unlikely that a wandering preacher, this wandering preacher appears to be JC to me, okay, not Mark. This wandering preacher, we're going to consider this preacher to be JC, would be present in Jerusalem at Passover time, right? He would have been with his family at Passover, okay? Nor is it hard for us to envision JC antagonizing the authorities so greatly that they would wish him killed. Okay, so definitely talking about JC. However, that such an execution should take place on the very day of Passover, as Mark declares, so they executed him on Passover, is well nigh impossible. The city would have been full of people who had come from all over the world for the solemn festivities and for the normality and for the normally prudent Roman authorities to risk antagonizing the crowds, right? This is an international crowd, okay? By executing anyone, prophet or pretender, deifies reason. Well, that makes total sense for me. In addition, that the Jews themselves would plot an execution on one of the holiest days of the year is unthinkable. Well, that also makes good sense to me. Even if they were prepared to risk defiling the holy day itself, where on earth would they have found the time for such chicanery? The high priest and their minions, for the high priest and their minions, this was the busiest time of the year. Well, that makes total sense to me, y'all. I need to go eat. I think my blood sugar is low because I feel a little bit lightheaded. So I'm going to be responsible and end the live stream now. Shalom Islam to all the Moors. Make sure you support my work. I have links to many ancient Ibaryath books that I've written. Everything that I'm able to do. If you want to do these things, the key is learning ancient Ibaryath, learning linguistics, learning how to translate the Hebrew scriptures on your own. Okay, that is the key. That's how I do what I do. And I've written books that can teach you how to do it. Okay, you don't have to buy my books. You can learn someplace else. You can put two and two together the same way I did. No problem. But I have everything already compiled, organized, and formatted in such a way that it's very easy to learn. I also offer classes, streaming and live online. So you can take advantage of those. But you must learn ancient Ibaryath. You're doing yourself a disservice if you do not. Okay? It's also reclaiming your own heritage, right? It's reclaiming your heritage, our own language, our writing system. Okay? When you learn linguistics and when you see what I'm showing you in those videos, your eyes will open. You'll see things differently when you see what I show you in those videos. Okay? I make the text, not only does the text come alive, but you're going to see with your own eyes how you've been played, manipulated, played like a fiddle or a cheap piano by your religious leaders and Bible translators. All right. So Shalom Islam, support my work to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English. I'll see y'all on the next one.